Most of us who have looked forward to the last decades of our life, we think about the benefits of retirement, of getting away from that hectic work schedule and being able to spend more time traveling and relaxing and spending time with family and friends. However, most people don't think about the healthy benefits that come from that hectic lifestyle that we're trying to get away from. And neither do we see the hidden dangers that come from escaping all that activity. If you're new here, I'm Betty, and this channel is all about living life more fully. And if we really want to do that during the last decades of our life, we need to pay attention to the health of our brain. I guess that's something that I really didn't think about earlier in life, but now it's something that I've really been looking into. I guess it just started bothering me how people have this attitude that dementia and cognitive decline is something we have to expect in our later years and plan for it like it's inevitable. It's just going to happen to us. I guess I'm just a bit of a rebel about some things, and I didn't want to accept that assumption as being a fact. So I started looking into it. And in this video, I want to share with you 4 surprising but practical ways that you can put into practice to lower the risk of dementia in your life. It just didn't seem right to me that the way our bodies are designed, that our bodies should outlive their ability to keep us strong and healthy. So I started looking for information. And of course, you can Google anything and find whatever you want to believe, but it's important to look more deeply into it, find a lot of sources and compare them and find things that you can believe. So that's what I did. And I came up with quite a bit of information. And I'm not going to share all of it with you, but I did find 4 areas, 4 things that we can actively do to reduce the risk of dementia. Now, I'm not a doctor or a scientist or anything like that. And so, of course, none of this is meant to be medical advice, but these are things that I have already started putting into practice. And I do trust God to take care of my body, but I think that even so, it's important that I do what I can and what I know so that I can lower the risk of these things happening in my body. First thing is that to stay healthy, we need to eat a healthy diet and we need to get exercise. Now, it seems that every time I look for something online with advice about being healthy or dealing with some kind of a health challenge, it seems to be the first thing that comes up. But I can understand why, because we need to cooperate with what our bodies need. And that has to do with giving it the right kind of fuel and the right kind of movement. Think about it this way. In your car, what would happen if you put diesel fuel into a gasoline engine? Now, that would be a big mistake and an expensive one, and something you'd find out pretty quickly doesn't work. But with our bodies, it's the same way, except that you don't find out so fast that that kind of fuel is not what your body needs. Instead, as the years go by, these problems will come up health-wise because of the kind of food that we're putting into us. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of special diets and things. You can look that up if you want. There are a lot of healthy ways to eat. But instead of thinking so much about specifically what to eat, I've come up with something that I have put into practice in my own life that makes it easy for me to decide what foods are good and what foods are not. And there are certain things that I avoid. Now, avoiding them doesn't mean 100% that I never eat any other way, because in life, there are birthdays and there is birthday cake and you with your friends, you know how it goes. But in general, there are certain things that I try to stay away from, and only 3 things. Make it simple. I stay away from highly processed foods or highly refined foods, and that would be white flour, for one, which would be most breads and noodles and things like that. Also, refined sugars. That would be any kind of granulated sugar or solid sugar that's been refined. I do eat some honey, a moderate amount of that to sweeten some things. And the other thing would be processed and refined oils. Now, those oils are basically the ones you find mostly on the grocery store shelves. Those are the seed oils, the refined soy oil, vegetable oil, sunflower, canola, corn oil and all the rest. And those are not healthy because your body can't process them well. But instead, it's healthy to use oils like olive oil and coconut oil. Those are the two that I use the most. There are others. I don't buy them much because they tend to be a lot more expensive, but there are good, healthy choices. So with those three things, avoiding highly processed and refined foods, I have found a way that I can eat and stay healthy. I also have another advantage because I live in Guatemala. And here in Guatemala, we have markets with all the fresh fruits and vegetables, and it's really easy to find a lot of delicious things to eat that are fresh and unprocessed. And I do eat dairy. I drink milk, and I have cream and butter and all those things. And I have the advantage of being able to go straight to the dairy and pick up milk in bags, in little plastic bags that's straight from milking the cows. We bring it home still warm, and things like that are a real advantage that I've got here. But even without all of those advantages, you can find things that are fresh and unprocessed and healthy for your body. And in the same way, moderate, regular physical exercise will help your body to be healthy and will get your blood circulation going. And that is so important for the health of your brain, because your brain needs healthy circulation in order to create new brain cells and in order to create new connections in your brain for the activity that goes on. But without these things, we're not giving our body the chance it needs for optimum brain health. The second point that I want to make is that we need to engage our brains in mental stimulation. Before retirement, in our job, our profession, whatever we're occupied with, our mind was being stimulated with activities, problem solving, some stress. That's true. It might not have been completely pleasant, but that activity was stimulating our brain. And sometimes after leaving that kind of an activity, everything settles down and our brain does not get the stimulation that it needs. So we need to actively stimulate our brain with other things. And these things can be really pleasant. For example, we can turn off the TV and instead pick up a book. Reading is wonderful for your brain because your brain has to take these words and convert them into images and activity and even smells. All of your senses come alive in your imagination, and that activity will help to strengthen your brain. Also, you can do puzzles of different kinds, brain puzzles, brain games, things that involve words and language, or jigsaw puzzles, or things that involve math or space. These things will keep your brain thinking and challenged and active. You could also pick up a new skill, learn how to do some kind of a craft, make things. One thing that I started doing just a few short years back is I started learning how to make jewelry. And that was something I'd never tried before, but I'm really enjoying it, even selling a little bit of it as a side hustle. But these things that we can take up that are going to enrich our lives. You can learn how to play a musical instrument. Music has been proven to be very stimulating to the brain for reducing the risk of dementia. You can learn how to play a guitar, learn how to play a keyboard. You can learn how to sing. It's never too late. But learn something new like that, or even better, learn a new language. Now, learning a language nowadays is so easy. There are applications that you can get for free. Get Duolingo and take up a new language if you don't have a second language or a third language already. Learn some Spanish. Come down here and visit me. Or you can learn some French or German or whatever. If you do that, it is unlocking new pathways in your mind and building new connections, and it's so healthy for your thought processes. Now, one thing that I think is significant that I have found being here in Guatemala is that there are a lot of expats here, mostly from the US, and a lot of people at retirement age. And I found a very small percentage of people here at those ages that have suffered from any kind of cognitive decline, a much smaller percentage than what I understand to be in the United States. And I think it has a lot to do with all of these factors that we've been talking about, the diet and the exercise. We do a lot of walking here because it's not so convenient to just park where you walk into a building. And the fresh air and the sunshine, the good diet, the fruits and vegetables. Also, when you think about the problem solving, the challenges of living in a different culture, the language, all of that together is a beautiful package to be able to lower the risk of cognitive decline. So if you have a chance to get into another culture, to travel a bit, go to another country, even if you don't go there permanently to live, get out of your comfort zone and do some traveling. Learn about some new places and make some new connections, because that is only going to enrich your life and make you stronger. Now, another thing that we need to think about is that if you have any existing health problems like high cholesterol, high blood pressure, or diabetes, for example, or if you're dealing with overweight, a lot of these problems can actually aggravate the risk of dementia. So if you already have any of these risks, it's really important that you make sure that you're getting regular checkups with your healthcare provider. Make sure that you're staying on top of all of these things, and particularly if you have hearing loss. It's been found that people that have hearing loss have a much higher risk of dementia. Why would that be? Because your brain needs input from all of your senses. If one of your senses, the sense of hearing, is not feeding into your brain all of that information, then your brain is not as active as it needs to be in processing that. So it's important that if you have any problem with hearing loss, make sure that you get whatever kind of an apparatus that you need or treatment that you need to be able to hear enough to keep that activity going in your brain. And the last thing that I want to share might sound kind of obvious, but it's to get enough sleep. And not just sleep, but quality sleep. Because there are things that go on in our brains while we're sleeping that your brain cannot do while you're awake. Your brain is processing things, repairing things, and preparing itself for when you're awake. So it's so important to get at least 7 or 8 hours of sleep a night. Now, this doesn't mean just lying down with your eyes closed, but quality sleep. Quality sleep means sleeping in darkness and no noise and sleeping soundly. Now, a good way to make sure that you're going to sleep soundly is to make sure that you have a routine before going to bed. That's helped me out a whole lot. Your routine could be anything that makes you feel comfortable and that notifies your body that, okay, it's time to settle down and get ready for sleep. It could be a little bit of stretching when you're relaxing and getting ready for bed, maybe a cup of tea, herbal tea. It could be reading a book for a while, but whatever it is, just to be able to leave the devices alone and the screens and let your body relax and prepare itself for sleep. And let yourself get all of that sleep, because good sleep, deep sleep, is a part of self-care that's important. And you got to remember that self-care isn't selfish. Self-care is important if we want to function at our best. So it's never too late to begin to prepare for later on by taking care of some of these things now, building the right habits that we can keep for later in life to reduce the risk of dementia, of cognitive decline. And also, these activities will help to fill our life with productive activity and develop relationships that will help our life to be more full. But the most important thing is that we can keep our mind and our body strong so that we will be able to enjoy all the rest of our days. So I hope this information has been helpful to you, and I hope these are things that you can put into practice in your own life. If you've enjoyed this video, I think you're going to enjoy the next one.